Welcome to the Red Chair Knits podcast. My name is Colleen, and as always, I am coming to you from my red knitting chair here in my home in Pennsylvania. Today is Sunday, October 15th, 2017. I almost said August there for some reason, but it's definitely October, despite the weather we've been having. If you want to find me on social media, you can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as Colleen Diane 12. Those are the places where I spend the majority of my social media time. For those of you who are new to the podcast, welcome. This is a video podcast about knitting and crochet and all things yarn, because like many, I am obsessed. And for those of you who are returning viewers, welcome back. Thank you so much for coming back to spend a little more time with me and see what I've been working on for the last, month or so since my last recording. I do this time have a couple of finished objects to share. I didn't have any last time. So the first one I don't actually have with me. I'm going to try to insert a picture about here-ish at this point. So hopefully you just saw that picture. Those are the Waiting for Winter mittens, designed by Susan B. Anderson. The yarn I used was the Knit Picks Felice Worsted in the Time Traveler colorway, and those were a gift for a classmate of mine who asked me for a pair of mittens about a year and a half ago, I guess. Maybe only a year. So that's 2 of 4 off my list of classmates who have asked me for things over the last couple of years. Whenever anybody asks me for anything, if I say yes, I tell them, it'll be on my time, so it could be years before you get it. But if I agree to make it when the mood strikes me, I make it. Which I think works out pretty well because then people don't expect things right away and I don't have to knit something that I am not motivated to knit. So he loved them. The yarn was great to work with, very soft. And I still was getting some holes right at the thumb where you come back and pick it up. For some reason, I don't get those when I do socks. Like when I pick up the gusset or the heel and gusset for socks, I don't get that. But on the mittens, I do. So I just sewed it up. But if anybody has any tricks for avoiding that little hole right at the part where your thumb meets your hand, that would be awesome because I'm going to be casting on another pair of mittens soon-ish. So if that could be avoided, that would be great. The next 2 finished objects that I have are both socks. The first one that I have is my Bright Side socks, which I showed off on my last episode, so I won't talk too much about them. They're basically a plain vanilla sock, 56 stitches on size 1.5 needles. I did a 2x2 rib, heel flap and gusset, and then a Kitchener toe. And the yarn is the Bright Side colorway by On the Round. And they are fabulous. Bright, sunny socks. Took me way longer to finish them than it should have, but they are off the needles. I haven't washed them yet. I usually like to wash my socks once when I first make them because some of the yarns that I've been using are a little rough, and so that softens them up. But I just got the ends on these woven in today, so I will get them into a bath either later tonight or later this week. And I am very much looking forward to wearing these when the weather finally decides to cool down. It keeps teasing us with fall, and then it goes away, which is really obnoxious for those of us who love fall, like me. I love winter more, but I just like cold temperatures. And it was, I think, 70 degrees today. And it was warmer than that yesterday. It was in the low 60s, maybe even the high 50s on Friday. And I thought, finally. And then it warmed up again. The second pair that I have to show off, I knit as part of the first knit along for the Pen Pal Cal that Lucky Jenny and Candy of Paws for Stitches are hosting. So if my pen pal is watching, Kristen, close your eyes if you want to be surprised. These are the socks that I knit for my pen pal, Kristen. They are patterned. I don't know that that's going to come through on the video. I used the Hermione's Everyday Sock pattern. I did 64 stitches on, these were size 1.5 needles. The yarn is Patton's Croy. I don't remember the colorway off the top of my head. But I love the way it knit up. And it is, I figured out technically there is order to the colors and there is a repeat, but the repeat is so long and some of the colors repeat within the repeat, if that makes sense, that it looks random, which I like. So they're not exactly matching, but they're random enough that you either can't tell, or at least I don't care, and hopefully Kristen won't care. So I got the ends woven in on these as well, so I need to photograph them for the finished objects thread, and then get them in the mail to Kristen, hopefully this week. Yeah, I love these. They feel like they're going to be the warmest, coziest socks for wearing around the house in the winter. So I may actually buy some more of this yarn and make some as Christmas gifts. I probably won't, but that's the thought that popped into my head when I finished them, was I should buy more and make them as Christmas gifts, because I have a lot of family members who would love warm, cozy socks. However, one, I already have plenty of sock yarn if I wanted to make people socks, and two, I'm going to have no time whatsoever for the next 2 months, because I am about to start my surgery rotation first week of November. So no time. So nothing's going to happen. But that's the nice, happy thought that I had in my head. So those are my finished objects. Not a lot this week. Nothing big, but better than my last episode where I didn't have any to show you, right? I had a couple of works in progress that I showed off on my last podcast that I'm not going to bother showing you guys today, because I haven't made any progress on them, really. Maybe just a little bit, but not anything that would be worth showing. That includes the baby blanket for the baby that was born in August. So I really need to get cracking on that one. Probably will take that to Rhinebeck with me, so when I'm sitting around the hotel Friday night, I can work on that. In the meantime, other works in progress that I have been working on include my family medicine socks, which clearly I have not woven in the ends, and for some reason I gave myself a super extra long end on this one, because this is actually the end from the toe. Anywho, these should be finished by now, because I am 2/3 of the way through my psychiatry rotation. So it's been 4 weeks since I finished family medicine, but I only have one family medicine sock done. Wah, wah. I love the socks, don't get me wrong, but considering the fact that I haven't started my psychiatry socks because I haven't finished my family medicine socks, I'm gonna be so far behind. on these rotations. Oh well, these things happen. This is my second sock, so my half object, my hoe, and my work in progress. I'm past the heel, I've turned the heel, I've finished the decreases, and so I'm now starting on the foot. So hopefully this will go fairly quickly, and I can get it done and off the needles and get started on my psychiatry socks so that I'm not super ridiculously awfully behind. The yarn that I'm using for these socks is another yarn by On the Round. This colorway is called Ugly Duckling, and it was a seconds skein that I purchased not in the most recent second sale that she had, but in the one she had in the spring. And yeah, 56 stitches, 2x2 cuff, heel flap and gusset. I will say these are my first pair that I'm knitting on magic loop. I'm still not 100% sure what I think about it. I'm not sure I've found the best way to do the heel flap on the magic loop because it seems really difficult the way I'm doing it. But I watched some YouTube videos and they all showed the way that I was doing it, so I guess that maybe it's just a comfort thing that comes over time. The other thing I'm noticing, and it was just on the cuff, and I don't know if you can see it at all, that I'm getting some laddering there. I don't think you can see that, but it's just right there. It doesn't really bother me. The same thing happened on the other side. And I know a lot of people say, I think you can see it like right there. There we go, like in that section. I know a lot of people say they like magic loop because they don't get laddering that they get with DPNs. I didn't get any laddering when I use DPNs to make my socks. And I didn't get it, as far as I can tell, I didn't really get any laddering on the first sock. So I'm not sure what happened with this one. I'll definitely be giving Magic Loop another go with another set of socks. I don't dislike it. I'm a little confused by the laddering that I got on the cuff, which I'm not getting on the rest of the sock and didn't get on the first sock. So there's a little bit of a mystery there. But all in all, I'm pretty happy with it. So we shall see what my ultimate preference ends up being. So that is one work in progress. Let's see, what else do I want to show you? My Rhinebeck sweater. Actually, before we get to my Rhinebeck sweater, I'll show you the other thing that I've been working on. Then we can discuss my sweater. I was working on a different shawl when I last podcasted. Haven't really touched that one since then. And I wasn't going to start another shawl. I wasn't going to. I told myself I couldn't start one until I had that one off the needles. And then Ruth of Knitterarium published a new design collection called Walking with Elizabeth, which is inspired by walks that Mr. Darcy and Elizabeth Bennet take in Pride and Prejudice. And the shawl that she designed for Rosings Grove was so beautiful, and I loved the pictures so much that I was just inspired and had to buy the collection and cast it on. So here is where I am. I am currently almost done with the first lace repeat. Don't know that you can see the lace very well at this point. But it's beautiful. I actually would be quite a bit further, except I got about to the point that I'm at now and kept getting to the end of the row and not having the right number of stitches. which was really frustrating. I don't know what I did. I'm thinking at some point on some row I missed a yarn over and didn't catch it. But I was like not just a stitch off, but I was 3 or 4 stitches off at the end of two or three consecutive rows. And eventually I just made the decision that I had to stop and I had to go back and redo it. There was no way I was actually gonna manually tink back, because that would have been, I think, like 8 or 9 rows of 260, 275 lace stitches, undoing things like purl 2 together through the back loop. There was no way. That was not happening. So I did that super terrifying thing because I couldn't get a lifeline to work. Like, I tried putting it in and it just wasn't going. So I actually just ripped back and picked up the 250 live stitches at the end of the cream section, which I'm pretty sure I held my breath through the entire thing, but I didn't drop any of them, so I feel like that's progress for me. Anyway, now that I am paying closer attention to the lace, I am loving this. I love the way the colors look together, which I knew I would because I bought them almost a year ago. They are Cascade Heritage Silk in the limestone, and I want to say this is called Wine, or some kind of wine-ish name, I think. I'm just not sure if I'm getting that confused with the yarn for my Rhinebeck sweater, which is the same color and is called Wine. I don't know. Anyway, these are the 2 colors. I bought these last October or November with the intent of making a shawl for my mother for Christmas, and I ended up frogging that shawl because I just didn't like it. And so they've been sitting on a shelf ever since then. So I am really happy to finally be using them. And I am loving this pattern. And it's super soft and squishy. And I can't wait to have it done and wear it. I did size up the needles. I believe Ruth's pattern calls for a size 4 needle, and I am using a size 5. I haven't had any problems yet with that. We'll see if I have any yardage issues, but I tend to run a little bit tight on the knitting, and for some reason I tend to always have way more yarn left over than I should. So the last couple of shawls I've started, I've just sized up, and so far I haven't had a problem. We'll see how this goes. So stay tuned for more on that as I make progress on that shawl. And the third work in progress that I have for this week is, of course, my Rhinebeck sweater, which should really be a finished object at this point. We are 5 or 6 days out from Rhinebeck, but it's not. So it is almost a finished object. I am on the collar of this sweater, which is the very last bit that you do. So this pattern is by Marie Green of Olive Knits. She designed the Stillwater cardigan that a lot of people have been knitting recently. This is a pattern called First Watch, which she released, I want to say, the first part of this year. It's kind of a peacoat jacket-ish thing. That is a really horrible way to describe what is a very beautiful pattern. Stay tuned to my Instagram for pictures of the whole thing when it's done, because I don't know how well it's going to show off here. Anyway, it is a worsted weight I used the suggested yarn for this pattern, which is Valley Yarns Berkshire. This is, the colorway is wine. And it is 85% merino, I think, and 15% alpaca. It's super soft. It's going to be really warm, which is great, except that it's going to be 75 degrees at Rhinebeck. So I will probably wear this in the morning in line to get in, and maybe for a little bit of the morning, and then it is probably coming off. So I will at least be able to say that I have my Rhinebeck sweater with me. But I don't know that I'm wearing a worsted weight sweater in 75 degree temperatures. I tend to run really warm anyway, so like when other people are super bundled up, I tend to have at least one less layer than most people. So worsted weight may not have been the best choice for my Rhinebeck sweater, and next year maybe I'll go with a fingering weight Rhinebeck sweater. Anyway, I'm hoping to have this done tonight. I should be able to get the collar finished. I'm about halfway through the collar. And it's not quite dragging like the sleeves. The sleeves have an extra long ribbing on them, and it looks really cool when it's done. It starts kind of mid-forearm, but for some reason, on both sleeves I noticed this, that it just seemed to be the ribbing that never ended. I remember talking to my mom the other night, and I was like, Mom, this makes no physical sense, but I feel like I've been knitting for hours, and this thing is still 5 inches long. There's 7 inches of ribbing, and it's all mental, but it was a little bit frustrating. But it resolved eventually, and got it all done. So yeah, that is my sweater. It will have buttons. Where are the buttonholes? Here. So it's 2 buttons. So one goes through the buttonhole, and then the other goes next to it. And the buttons that I got that just arrived yesterday. Let me take it out of the bag. Marie suggested nautical themed buttons because that was the inspiration for the sweater. So, oh, the glare on that is terrible. Is that better? There you go. You can see I went with an anchor in gold. So I think it looks great with the red. I know you can't really see that. Sorry, guys. It's evening. I kept waiting for the sun to come out so that I could have some natural light when I recorded, and it never did. So I finally realized I needed to record or this wasn't going to get done, and then we were just going to be stuck with a post-Rhinebeck episode, which will be fabulous, but that would mean I'd have like a 3-hour episode, and nobody wants to watch me for 3 hours. I ordered my buttons on Etsy from a shop called Kabuko. That's the website there, but they sell on Etsy. And I believe the woman's name is Susan, and she sent a whole little packet of other button samples with it, which I thought was very sweet. So now I have buttons for other projects. So, keep your fingers crossed that this gets done, that it gets blocked and dries in time to go to Rhinebeck, and that it's not so swelteringly hot that I can't wear it at all. That would be the worst, to have spent all that time on it and then not even be able to wear it at all. At least at Rhinebeck. Obviously, I'll wear it all winter long, but I would love to be able to wear it at Rhinebeck. And I will, even if I am dripping sweat. So, I think that's all the projects that I have to show you this week. I feel like I've been talking really fast. which is not unusual for me. I talk fast all the time, but sorry if I have been. I try to slow it down a little for the podcast. But with me not being able to record as frequently because of school, I feel like every time I sit down to record, I feel like I'm out of practice. So, that said, I do have a couple of acquisitions to share this week. They're kind of tied in with chatter, just because a lot of what I've been doing ties in with the stories behind what I have acquired. So the first thing I have to show is my Fibershare package for the most recent round of Fibershare. I was paired up with the lovely Janice in Minneapolis. No, Milwaukee. I'm going to start with an M. Sorry, Janice. I know where you live. I do. I'm just so tired. Anyway, actually, the last round of Fibershare that I did, I was also paired up with a woman from Milwaukee. So clearly, there are great people out there. This is one of the bags that I got in my Fibershare package, and I have stuffed it full of everything that I was going to show off. Janice completely and totally spoiled me. For those of you who aren't familiar with Fibershare, it happens 2 or 3 times a year, and you sign up. There's a 3-week period where you can sign up. I don't know if it's exactly 3 weeks. It's a couple of weeks. And then they match everybody up, and you send to one person and receive from another person. So I sent one out to a lovely woman in Kansas and received from Milwaukee. So the requirement is 200 grams, and as I said, Janice completely spoiled me. She sent me this skein of super sparkly fingering weight yarn. There we go. You can see some of the sparkles there. This is Dream in Color yarns. There's Starry Base, and the colorway is Honeymoon. And I believe this was based on the fact that it says February Dream Club, part of a Yarn of the Month club that they must have done. This is so my color. Those of you who've watched the podcast for a while know that I have a thing for pink. Sparkly pink is even better. So Janice nailed that one for me. She also sent 2 skeins of this beautiful worsted weight from Tanis Fiber Arts. It's mostly purple, but it's got, you know, the greens and blues, and it's just stunning. And it is called Iris. I don't have plans for anything that I've been sent in this Fibershare package yet. I'm still looking and dreaming. She also sent me this gorgeous Notions bag. And a couple of other things in it. A little notebook. There was a needle holder that is being used at the moment on another project. This super fun black sheep pin. There we go. You can see it there. And a sticker from Black Sheep Made. She had in the bag, or in the box when she sent it, lavender from her garden, which made the whole thing smell wonderful. She sent me a cute little tin of stitch markers, all sorts of various little stitch markers that will be very useful, and I have already used one of them. I was using it on my sweater. Let's see, what else? More yarn. I got 2 of these 50-gram skeins of Manos del Uruguay Serena, which is 60% alpaca and 40% cotton. And these are in the flamingo colorway. How awesome is that? And, they're gonna fall on the floor over there. Oh well. She also sent me this awesome yarn from local to Milwaukee, Brew City Yarns. This is a DK weight, and the colorway is Tiger Lily. And I think the colors that she got just are spot on to what you would see in the Disney movie. And I am a huge Disney fan. So, love. So thank you, Janice. I've thanked you a million times, but thank you again. That was an awesome Fibershare package to receive. The other 2 acquisitions I have were birthday presents. My birthday was at the beginning of September, which I believe was just after the last time I podcasted. I spent my birthday in New York City with my whole family, both parents and both sisters. The only one missing was my brother-in-law, who was not able to make it out. We had the best time. We went and saw Aladdin on my birthday that evening. On Broadway. It was good. It's probably not my favorite Broadway show I've ever seen. I've seen a lot, but it was nice. We went to dinner at the restaurant at the top of the Marriott Marquis. It rotates 360 degrees, so you get a fabulous view of Manhattan. Loved that. That was actually, my mom and I went there for my 21st birthday, so it was sort of, we came back as a whole family several years later. Yeah, so that was fun. We had some other fabulous food finds in the city. Of course, we went to the Met because my family are art museum people. We went to the Botanical Gardens to see the Chihuly exhibit. We had so much fun. We don't get to travel a lot as all 5 of us because we do have very different travel styles. But for a weekend, it was great for all of us to be together. And the last day that we were there, the last full day, Sunday, my older sister and I separated from the rest of the group and went across town to the west side of Manhattan, and we visited Knitty City. My older sister had promised me some yarn for my birthday, so I not so subtly suggested that rather than ordering it online from somewhere while we were in New York, we should go to a yarn store. So, after wandering around the store for what I'm sure felt like hours to my sister, was not hours, but she was not really super into it, my poor older sister. I picked out these 2 skeins from Apple Fiber Studio, which is in Bellingham, Washington, and I wanted to pick something that I couldn't get at my local yarn shops, and funnily enough, about 3 weeks after I got back from New York, I found out that my local yarn shop, one of my local yarn shops, has now started carrying this within the last couple weeks. So, oh well. This is a fingering weight. It is 20% alpaca, 60% merino, and 20% nylon. And I wish you could feel how soft that alpaca makes this. It's beautiful and soft, and I don't know. I might make a shawl out of this. It almost feels too soft to be socks. But then there's nothing too soft for wearing on your feet, right? The colorway is Whatcom Falls. And yeah, they're the same colorway for both skeins. So looking forward to working with these, and was so happy to finally make it to Nitty City. Let's see, that was all we got at Nitty City. A couple weeks later, at the end of September, I went down to visit my other sister in Charlottesville, Virginia, and we had a little yarn shopping there. She had also promised me yarn for my birthday, and so I went down Friday. Is it Friday? It was Friday afternoon, and Saturday we went to Laughing Sheep Yarns, which is one of 2 yarn shops in Charlottesville. And we were able to meet the owner while we were there. I can't remember her name. I'm so sorry. She was so sweet. They were in the middle of reorganizing their stock, but the store was packed. There was a great group of ladies sitting around knitting, and I so wanted to sit down and join them. But of course I couldn't do that to my little sister, who also does not knit. I'm the only knitter in the family. But unlike my older sister, my little sister actually kind of got into picking out the yarn. She's like, what would you do with this one? What would you do with this one? Oh no, that's not a good color for that. Try that. So that was a lot of fun to actually have someone who was interested in at least helping. So the 2 skeins that we picked out were this one from Araucania Yarns. You can read the label for yourself. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing that at all anywhere even close. The colorway is Rambling Rose, and this is, I think they called it a fingering, but it's 100 grams and 554 yards. So I think it's kind of between a lace weight and a fingering, like a really, really light fingering. But of course, it's the perfect shades of pink. I'm trying to cut down on the amount of pink yarn that I buy, because my stash is excessively pink. But it's my birthday, and I didn't buy anything pink at Nitty City. The other thing that we picked out was this Queensland rustic tweed, and this one is 65% wool, 25% alpaca, and then 10% acrylic and nylon. And it's a great neutral kind of cream color. It's a worsted weight, and we had decided, my sister and I, that this would make a great hat. So I will be making this into a hat for myself. Of course, she not so subtly dropped some hints that she would like a hat as well. So if I have time, which is a big if, she might get a hat for Christmas. But that's a big if. Let's see. So the next day, Sunday, the reason I went down was they were having what they called the Concert for Charlottesville, which was a free concert that a bunch of different artists got together to put on for the city of Charlottesville after everything horrible that happened there at the end of August with the riots and the young woman who was killed. So they put on a free concert. The tickets were by lottery. My sister goes to the University of Virginia, one of their graduate schools. So that was how she was able to get tickets, and you could get 2 tickets. So she got them, and I went down to join her for that. And that was Sunday evening. But Sunday morning, we went out to brunch, and we went to this place, and we got there maybe 15 minutes after they opened, and they already had a wait. So it was, I think, about half an hour, they said. Conveniently enough, however, they were right next door to the other yarn shop in Charlottesville, which is called Magpie Knits. It used to be known, for those of you who've been to Charlottesville and maybe done some yarn shopping there, this used to be the Needle Lady. And they recently, I want to say last spring, changed their name. I'm not sure if they changed owners or if it was just a rebranding thing, but they are now called Magpie Knits. It's the same store, same location, lots of the same yarn. I noticed some of their little samples still had the Needle Lady tag, so it's a very recent change. And it was a lot quieter in there because it was a Sunday morning versus the Saturday at Laughing Sheep, but it was great. I chatted with the woman in the store. I'm not sure if she was the owner or not, but I was able to successfully kill the entire time that we were waiting, and walked away with one skein of this beautiful ruby colored yarn. The colorway is called Ruby's Play, and it's a DK weight, and this is by Claudia's Hand Painted Yarns, which is a Virginia dyer. And I don't know what I'm going to make with this, but it was so soft and fabulous that I had to get it. The skein I was actually initially drawn to on the shelf with all the Claudia's yarns was the softest skein of yarn I've ever felt. But then I looked at the price tag, and it was 100% silk, and a skein was $65. And I thought, you know what? I like me. I like nice things for me. But if I'm going to make a shawl with this, I'd need at least 2 skeins, which would be at least $130. I don't like me that much. And I certainly don't have anybody else in my life that I'm going to spend $130 on to make a shawl. Not that they're not worth it, but I'm on student loans here. So that's a yarn that can go in the back of my mind for years and years and years down the road when the loans are paid off. So that was all my acquisitions. I did get some other yarns in the mail, but I will show you those when I cast them on for their projects. What else have I been up to since my last podcast? Plowing away through my psychiatry rotation. I believe I was still on family medicine when I last podcasted. I loved that one. There are parts of psychiatry that I'm enjoying. It's certainly an interesting field. I think at this point, there's nothing, well, I'm very careful about what I say on the podcast, if you haven't noticed, because you never know who's going to watch this, and I don't want to say anything that will offend anyone. Let's just leave it at, I'm probably not going to become a psychiatrist. It's a very valuable field. I have a lot of respect for my classmates who want to go into that field, but this is not the field for me. So I have 2 weeks left of psychiatry, and then I move on to surgery, which I am both looking forward to and kind of a little bit dreading, primarily because of the hours and the intimidation factor of surgery. But I think it'll be okay. I think I'm going to enjoy it. And that is 8 weeks and starts at the end of October. So I will definitely get a Rhinebeck recap video up when I get back from Rhinebeck. But I not making any promises on what gets recorded in the months of November or December because I will be probably really, really busy. And in surgery, the day basically starts at 4:30 in the morning. So by the time I get home in the evening, I will not be wanting to sit down and record a podcast. So if I don't, well, I'll discuss that in my next episode because there will absolutely be a Rhinebeck recap episode in the next week or two. Speaking of, for anybody who's going to be at Rhinebeck, I hope to see you all there. Please say hello if you see me. And if you want to meet up at any point, send me a message on Instagram. I would love to meet up with people. I'm actually going by myself. I'm not going with a group because I was not able to make advance plans for Rhinebeck because I didn't know my schedule until about 4 weeks ago when we started this rotation. So it was unclear whether I would be able to go. So it's only been in the last couple of weeks that I've been sure that I can go. So I am going out Friday immediately after work. So I'm staying in Kingston, which is just across the river, and I should get there probably not in time to go to India Untangled, but maybe to stop in for the last little bit of India Untangled. Depending on traffic and what time we finish at the hospital. It's about a 2.5 hour drive without traffic, and I anticipate that on a Friday afternoon there will probably be traffic. So I'll probably get to Kingston around 7:30. So if any of you are at India Untangled and want to come, I don't know, have a beer or a glass of wine or something, after you go to India Untangled, message me. I am always up for that, and nobody likes to eat dinner by themselves. I do a lot of traveling on my own, so it's actually not something that I have a big issue with, but if you are there, I would love to see you all. And then the next day, I intend to be at Rhinebeck when the gates open, and we'll be spending all day there. I will certainly be at the podcaster meetup, more to meet some podcasters that I'm eager to meet. I don't anticipate that there'll be a whole lot of people going, like, just to see me. But I would love to see as many of you as possible. So if you are going to be there, let me know. And I hope to see you all in New York. And if I don't see you at Rhinebeck, I will see you in the next few weeks for a Rhinebeck recap episode. And in the meantime, happy knitting! Bye!